Was Rockefeller the richest man in history? Did you know that there was once an American businessman whose riches, adjusted to account for economic growth, would dwarf even those of today's wealthiest private citizens, Tesla's Elon Musk and Amazon's Jeff Bezos? In this video, we'll see how John D. Rockefeller acquired more wealth than anyone in history and gave it almost all away. John Davison Rockefeller Sr. was born in 1839 in upstate New York to the former Eliza Davison and William Avery Big Bill Rockefeller, a scheming businessman who frequently left his family to work as a traveling snake oil salesman. Big Bill was a bigamist and grifter who was also known as Devil Bill. While John D. was a young boy, Devil Bill fled a rape charge under an assumed name. After that, the family moved to the Cleveland area. While John D.'s mother taught him thrift, piety, charity, and the value of studying and working hard, his father taught him to wheel and deal. By 16, he had a bookkeeping job that also taught him to budget, negotiate, badger customers to pay overdue bills, and grease palms when necessary. Already he exhibited the work ethic and discipline which would be his hallmarks throughout his long career. At 20, he and a partner started their own business selling food on commission. It turned a profit every year, and the most successful business career in modern history was born. In the 1850s, as whales became increasingly scarce, whale oil grew excessively expensive, and the world began to turn instead to rock oil, or petroleum, as fuel for light. Sensing an opportunity, Rockefeller and his partner left the food business and, with additional financing from 3 more partners, built one of Cleveland's first oil refineries in 1863. John D. used innovative efficiencies, borrowed heavily to build the oil business, bought out 2 of his partners, opened an export office in New York, and teamed up with his brother, William Rockefeller Jr., to add another refinery to the enterprise in 1866. While countless wildcatters risked everything to drill for oil, the Rockefellers and their partners relentlessly grew an increasingly multifaceted business to profit from it in every conceivable way, soon coming to dominate the Cleveland market. They used their increasing power to crush or acquire competitors, secretly pay kickbacks to railroads, buy pipelines, and expand rapidly. In 1870, thanks to a new partnership with financier Henry M. Flagler, the firm incorporated as Standard Oil, which continued to sprawl, gobbling up refineries and related companies. By 1872, it was the world's largest oil refiner. In 1881, Rockefeller and his partners created a trust, a new way of organizing a complex group of enterprises to govern Standard Oil and all of its subsidiaries, which spanned much of the country by then. John D. became the head of a board of trustees which, within a year, controlled no less than 90% of the now booming U.S. oil industry. Rockefeller made no secret of his desire to create a monopoly. According to legend, he once bought more than 20 competing refineries in less than 2 months. He believed that economies of scale could be used to make kerosene and other petroleum products affordable for every American, and he believed it was his destiny to accumulate a vast amount of money in order to donate it to charity. Popular sentiment, however, quickly turned against the monopolies established by Rockefeller and the other robber barons of the late 19th century. The New York World called Standard Oil the most cruel, impudent, pitiless, and grasping monopoly that ever fastened upon a country. In 1890, Congress passed the Sherman Antitrust Act, which prohibited monopolies and restraint of trade. As the 20th century dawned, a popular, progressive young politician named Theodore Roosevelt made trust-busting one of his signature causes. But Rockefeller and Standard Oil were undeterred. Legal maneuvers and reorganizations were used to dodge the new law, while the company expanded into thousands of new wells, European markets, natural gas, and even steel manufacturing. Rockefeller eventually retired from the day-to-day management of the businesses, but he retained his ownership interest, which swelled in value year after year. Standard Oil's control of the market waned somewhat, but its fortunes, and with them the assets of its nominal president, John D. Rockefeller, kept right on growing. Nevertheless, in 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil was indeed a monopoly and ordered it broken up into more than 30 different companies, which would compete with one another. This may have been meant to punish Rockefeller, but he found himself owning huge parts of dozens of companies that would turn into industry giants Exxon, Mobil, Conoco, Chevron, Pennzoil, two companies which are now parts of BP, and several more. As automobiles gained popularity in America and around the world, these of course became many of the largest producers and distributors of gasoline, which went from being a waste product in the refining of kerosene to one of the most pervasive of all the world's energy sources. Did you know that all those huge corporations are descended from just one company, Standard Oil, more than 100 years ago? Let us know in the comments. Rockefeller's personal net worth is said to have peaked just shy of $1 billion at $900 million, around 1912 and 13. Adjusted for inflation, that would be worth about $27 billion in 2022. But consider this. The 12-figure net worth of Bezos or Musk is equivalent to less than 1% of today's U.S. gross domestic product. On the other hand, Rockefeller's fortune, at its most massive, is believed to have equaled 1.5 to 3% of GDP. In other words, Rockefeller dominated the entire economy like no one ever has before or since. Because of his genius for efficiency, acquisitions, management, and successful risk-taking, Rockefeller developed a reputation among many as an unscrupulous and greedy miser. In fact, in later life he devoted himself primarily to philanthropy. A consistent churchgoer and lifelong member of the Northern Baptist Church, Rockefeller directed many of his donations to religiously affiliated causes. One example was the Atlanta Baptist Female Seminary, an all-black school which he and his family supported so generously that it was renamed Spelman College for the family of his wife, Laura Spelman Rockefeller. She was a crusader for improvements in civil rights and women's rights, and John D. credited her advice for much of his success. They funded other women's colleges, including Bryn Mawr, Wellesley, and Vassar, and supported other schools for African American students across the southern U.S. through the General Education Board, which John D. founded in 1903. He is remembered as the founder of the University of Chicago because of an unprecedented $80 million gift, which turned a small Baptist college into one of the world's great institutions of higher learning. He founded the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research in New York City. Today, it's Rockefeller University, best known as a leading medical school. His largesse also made possible the creation or development of universities and medical schools as far away as China and the Philippines. Overall, he gave more than $500 million, the equivalent of tens of billions today, to the Rockefeller Foundation, which has focused its philanthropy on health and medicine, education, and the arts. Through his charitable giving, he became a model for other major philanthropists, including investor Warren Buffett and Microsoft's Bill Gates, whose Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is one of the two largest charitable foundations in the world. As an elderly man, emaciated and without a single hair on his head, for Rockefeller had lost his magnificent mustache and even his eyebrows to a case of alopecia in the 1890s. He was well known for his habit of handing out dimes to adults and nickels to children. From our perspective, this may make him sound cheap, but remember that a nickel in 1935 would be worth more than $1 today. John D. Rockefeller died in 1937, 6 weeks shy of his 98th birthday. His legacy includes not only ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, Chevron, and Pennzoil, but also the University of Chicago, Spelman College, Rockefeller University, and the Rockefeller Foundation. He also had a grandson who became governor of New York and then vice president of the United States, another who was the longtime CEO of Chase Manhattan Bank, and yet another who was governor of Arkansas. His great-grandson, John Davison J. Rockefeller IV, served as a United States Senator from West Virginia for 30 years until 2015. Do you agree that because Rockefeller's wealth was such a huge part of the U.S. economy, he was indeed the richest private citizen in history? Or do you think that the vast fortunes of Musk, Bezos, and Gates are actually bigger than John Dee's was? Do you know someone from further back in history who may have been even wealthier? Please let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed learning something from today's video, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell so you won't miss any of our fascinating upcoming videos.
Rich bio. It all starts from zero.